At the hotel desk, my sister insisted on taking the master suite and snatched my bag. My mom took her side. What they didn't realize was I'd paid $39,000, so I locked them out of their rooms. And that still wasn't the worst part. You know, I never, ever imagined I'd be the kind of person who'd leave my own family, my parents, my sister, stranded and shivering in the brutal 14-degree air of Aspen, Colorado. But in that exact moment, just 15 minutes after my sister Sadie violently shoved me to the ground, shattering my grandmother's priceless Cartier watch, a switch flipped. And their icy fate became a choice I was more than willing to make. To really get how I got to that point, sipping Opus One by a crackling fire while my family was out in the cold, I have to take you back. My name's Grace Holloway, and officially, I'm the owner of Holloway Design Group. I'm an architect, just closed a multi-million-dollar deal. But for my family, I was basically just the bank. Plain and simple. The only reason I put up with it for 10 long years was because of a promise I made to my grandmother right before she passed away from cancer. She held my hand, fastened her vintage Cartier tank watch onto my wrist, and whispered, "Grace, you are the strongest one. Promise me you will keep this family from falling apart, at least until your parents are old." And I promised. That watch? It was always there, a constant weight on my wrist, a physical reminder of this enormous responsibility. For a decade, I honored that promise. I paid for Sadie's car lease, cleared my parents' debts, let them live rent-free in the apartment I owned. That blued steel hand moved relentlessly forward, marking time I could never get back, hours I spent working late to fund a family that saw me as nothing more than a convenient ATM. For my parents' 35th wedding anniversary, I tried to do something really special. I covered the entire $39,000 cost for a trip to Aspen. I booked everything myself, the first-class flights, the 5-star resort, dinner reservations at Matsuhisa. I wanted to do something nice. I stupidly hoped that this grand gesture might finally earn me even a sliver of the affection they showered on Sadie. On the flight to Colorado, I settled into my first-class seat, laptop bag tucked away, mentally reviewing the color-coded confirmation emails and printed backup reservations. I was prepared for everything, except what actually happened. The flight attendant came by with a tray of vintage champagne. Before I could even take a sip, Sadie, who was filming a vlog, reached over from the seat beside me and snatched my glass. "Drink water, Grace. Your face gets red, and it looks bad on camera," she said, not even looking at me. Then she angled her phone to get the champagne bubbles in the perfect shot, carefully framing it so I didn't exist. She filmed herself pretending to sip champagne she'd never actually drink. Sadie never consumed calories she couldn't monetize, and there I sat, with empty hands. Then, just in front of us, my mother unwrapped a gift Sadie had just given her, a Dior silk scarf. Mom cooed, holding it up like it was the Hope Diamond. "Oh, Sadie, you always have the best taste. You are so thoughtful." She draped it around her neck, admiring herself in her phone camera, then added, "Unlike Grace, she makes so much money, but is so dry. She never buys anything for Mom with any heart. Dry. Heartless. Can you believe it? I mean, I had literally paid for the seats they were sitting in, the entire trip they were taking, the roof over their heads for the past decade. But sure, I was the heartless one." My phone vibrated. An American Express notification. Transaction approved. $850 at Dior Boutique. Supplementary card holder. I stared at the screen, then at my mother stroking that scarf, then at Sadie, who was still narrating about treating yourself to luxury. She had bought my mother a gift with my credit card and was accepting praise for her thoughtfulness while calling me heartless. The flight attendant, Jennifer, a young woman, maybe 25, leaned down. Her eyes were kind, seeing everything. "Miss Holloway, would you like me to get you a fresh glass?" she whispered. I just shook my head. "No thank you," I said, my voice hollow. I put on my noise-canceling headphones and closed my eyes. I wasn't angry yet. I was just utterly, devastatingly disappointed. My grandmother's watch ticked steadily on my wrist, counting down the seconds until I would finally understand that some promises just aren't worth keeping. After landing, The shift from the cabin's warmth to the Colorado mountains was instantaneous. The cold didn't just greet us, it assaulted us. A biting, 14-degree wall of air that froze the breath in my lungs. My family clustered around baggage claim, Sadie, of course, filming herself against the backdrop of ski equipment. Just landed in Aspen. Winter wonderland vibes, she chirped into her phone. I excused myself, wheeling my carry-on towards the restroom. Inside, the airport bathroom was surprisingly elegant. I set my bag down and let cold water run over my hands. That's when I heard Sadie's voice from inside a stall, sharp and panicked. Don't worry, I'll get that setting, she hissed into her phone. The master suite at the Little Nell has a jacuzzi tub overlooking the mountains. I already signed the contract with that lingerie brand. If I don't post the photos by Monday, they'll sue me for breach of contract. I froze. The lighting is perfect for the shoot. My agent already sent them mock-ups with that exact bathroom. If I don't deliver, I'm screwed. The contract is for $1,500 and I already spent it. My blood ran cold. The master suite. She hadn't asked if she could stay there. She just assumed. She'd built an entire business plan around a room I was paying for in a trip I had organized, without once considering that I might want something for myself. I dried my hands slowly, watching my reflection. I looked tired. Like someone running on empty for years, only just now noticing. When Sadie emerged, she jumped. Grace, you scared me, she said, tucking away her phone. How long have you been standing there? Just washing my hands, I said, my voice flat. She shrugged, pulled out her lip gloss. Can you believe how cold it is? I'm definitely getting hot stone massages every day. You booked the spa package, right? I booked everything, I replied. Perfect. She smacked her lips. Okay, let's go. I want to get to the hotel and start shooting before the light changes. 30 minutes later, we pulled up to the Little Nell in a black SUV I'd arranged. The hotel rose against the mountain like a dream. The lobby was breathtaking, with soaring ceilings, a massive crackling fireplace, and gleaming marble columns. Mr. Murphy, the general manager, greeted us personally. He was silver-haired, with that calm competence you only see in people who manage the ultra-rich. Miss Holloway, he said, extending his hand to me, not my father, not my mother. He'd done his research. He knew who was paying. Welcome to the Little Nell. We have your rooms ready. He gestured to the front desk, where 4 key cards waited in small paper sleeves. Sadie lunged forward, her hand shooting out for the card labeled Master Suite. I caught her wrist. No, Sadie. She looked at me like I'd just spoken in a foreign language. What? You didn't pay for this trip, I said, my voice low and level. The Master Suite is mine. You can take one of the deluxe rooms downstairs. Her face transformed. The Instagram smile vanished, replaced by something ugly. Don't be so selfish. You don't even take photos. I need that room. That's not my problem. Give it here. She lunged at me, grabbing the strap of my Bottega Veneta bag where I'd tucked the keys. I held on tight. Sadie, stop. We struggled there, in the middle of the lobby, her perfectly manicured nails digging into the leather. My shoulder wrenched as she yanked harder. People were staring now. Well-dressed guests paused. A couple at the concierge desk turned to watch. Then Sadie did something I will never forget. She smirked. And then, deliberately, with full force, she released her grip and shoved me. The sudden loss of resistance threw me off balance. My Louboutin pumps, elegant but impractical, slipped on the polished marble. I fell hard, my left wrist smashing violently against the marble column behind me before I hit the ground. The impact rang out, dry and harsh, tearing through the quiet space. I looked down at my wrist. At my grandmother's watch. The sapphire crystal, once transparent and proud, had shattered into a chaotic spiderweb of white cracks. At the point of impact, the glass had exploded, exposing the Roman numeral dial beneath, now scratched by sharp debris. The signature blued steel hands were jammed, bent at unnatural angles, permanently stopped at 4:25 p.m. The exact moment everything broke. Glittering shards of glass dust scattered onto the cold marble floor. Beautiful, but so cruel. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't hear anything but the ringing in my ears and the thundering of my own heartbeat. The watch face was destroyed. The promise was destroyed. I looked up at Sadie. She wasn't scared. She wasn't apologetic. She rolled her eyes dramatically, already playing to her invisible audience. "Oh my, you are so clumsy," she laughed, loud and performative. "I didn't even touch you. You threw yourself on the floor to play the victim. Stop acting like a martyr and give me the key." My mother's voice cut through the lobby. "Grace, get up. Don't embarrass the family." She glanced around at the watching guests, her face tight with mortification, not at Sadie's behavior, but at mine for making a scene. "It's just an old watch. Buy a new one. Just an old watch. My grandmother's last gift to me. The symbol of a promise I had killed myself to keep for 10 years. The weight I had carried. Just an old watch." Something inside me cracked wider than that crystal face. Mr. Murphy moved swiftly. He appeared at my side with 2 large security guards. They didn't speak to my family. They didn't ask Sadie what happened. They focused entirely on me. "Miss Holloway," Mr. Murphy said quietly, extending his hand to help me up. His grip was steady, professional. "Are you injured?" I let him pull me to my feet. My wrist throbbed, but nothing felt broken. Just bruised. Just shattered. "I'm fine," I said automatically. "Our high-definition cameras in the lobby recorded the entire altercation," he continued, his voice low enough only I could hear. He gestured subtly to the discreet cameras. "I have directed security to store the footage in our legal safe. If your lawyer needs it for assault charges, it is ready." Cameras. Lawyer. The words hung in the air like a grenade. I watched the blood drain from Sadie's face. Her mouth opened, then closed. For once in her life, she had nothing to say. But she didn't apologize. She just stood there, betting on my passivity. Betting that I would do what I always did, smooth things over, pay for the damage, pretend nothing happened. She was counting on me to be the bank, reliable and stupid, and endlessly forgiving. I looked down at the broken watch. Tiny shards of crystal still clung to the bezel, catching the light. The hands were frozen at 4:25 p.m., the moment the promise shattered. My grandmother had asked me to keep the family together. But she had never met this version of them, the version that laughed while I bled, that took and took and took until there was nothing left of me but an open wallet and a broken watch. The promise had shattered along with the glass face. "Thank you, Mr. Murphy," I said. My voice sounded different. Colder. Clearer. "Keep that tape safe. Don't release it just yet. My lawyer will be in touch." Sadie's eyes went wide. "Grace, come on. Don't be dramatic. Step back, please," one of the security guards said to her. Not aggressively, but firmly. A wall of professional politeness that still made it clear she needed to stop talking. My father finally spoke, his voice booming. "Grace, this is ridiculous. Your sister didn't mean anything by it. You're blowing this out of proportion." I turned to look at him. Aiden Holloway still had the posture of a man who expected the world to bend to his will. He'd declared bankruptcy twice, failed at 3 businesses, and was currently living rent-free in my apartment. But he still spoke with the authority of someone who'd never faced real consequences. "Blowing it out of proportion?" I repeated slowly. She destroyed an irreplaceable family heirloom and laughed about it. But I'm the one being dramatic. "It was an accident," my mother chimed in, clutching her new Dior scarf, the one I had unknowingly paid for, as if it might protect her. "Sadie would never hurt you on purpose." I almost laughed. Would never hurt me on purpose. As if the past 10 years hadn't been a masterclass in casual cruelty. As if every snide comment, every exploitation of my money, every moment of being treated like an ATM with legs hadn't been a deliberate choice. "Mr. Murphy?" I said, turning my back on my family. "I'd like to speak with you privately at the front desk." "Of course, Miss Holloway." I walked away from them, my heels clicking on the marble floor. Each step felt lighter than the last, like I was shedding a weight I hadn't realized I was carrying. Behind me, I heard Sadie hiss something to our parents, but I didn't turn around. Mr. Murphy led me to the far end of the front desk. "I apologize for the disturbance," he said quietly. "You have nothing to apologize for." I set my bag on the counter and pulled out my phone. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Of course. If I wanted to ensure that those 3 people never set foot in the rooms they're supposed to be staying in, could you make that happen? Mr. Murphy didn't even blink. The reservation is under your name, Miss Holloway. You have full authority over the rooms. Even though we're past the 24-hour cancellation window? Cancellation policies are designed to protect the hotel's revenue, he said carefully. If you're willing to pay for the rooms regardless of whether they're occupied, then the rooms are yours to do with as you please. I looked at him, really looked at him. He understood exactly what I was asking. And he was telling me, in the careful language of high-end hospitality, that he would help me. How much would it cost? I asked. To pay for all 4 rooms, but only actually use one of them? He typed something into the computer. The 2 additional rooms total approximately $14,000 for the 3-night stay. Combined with your master suite and incidental charges, the full amount would be approximately $25,000, $14,000. To leave my family in the cold. I thought about my grandmother holding my hand. I thought about the promise I had made. I thought about the watch, now broken beyond repair. Then I thought about Sadie laughing as I fell. About my mother calling me heartless while wearing an $850 scarf I had paid for. About my father telling me I was being dramatic while he lived rent-free in my apartment. My decision was instant. I pulled out my American Express black card and set it on the counter. Charge the full amount, I said. But I only want 1 key card to work. Mine. Mr. Murphy picked up the card, his expression unchanged. Understood, Miss Holloway. Will there be anything else? Yes, I said. I'd like you to deactivate the other 2 key cards immediately, and if they ask why they're not working, tell them to speak with me directly. The corners of his mouth twitched. Not quite a smile, but close. It would be my pleasure. I stayed with Mr. Murphy while my family hovered near their luggage about 20 feet away. They could see me talking, could see me handing over my credit card, but they couldn't hear what I was saying. My mother kept glancing over, her face pinched with curiosity and irritation. Sadie had her arms crossed, tapping her foot impatiently. My father checked his watch every 30 seconds. Mr. Murphy swiped my card. Regarding the remaining 2 rooms, Miss Holloway, he said, his voice low. I must inform you that the 24-hour cancellation policy means no refunds if you choose to cancel at this time. I looked him straight in the eye. This was the moment. The point of no return. Mr. Murphy, you misunderstand. I don't want a refund. He didn't flinch. Please charge the full $25,000 to my American Express black card. I am happy to pay that amount. I am paying for privacy. I want those 2 rooms to remain empty. Please deactivate their room key cards immediately. Do not let anyone, especially those 3 over there, enter them. I am paying $14,000 just so those rooms are empty and they are locked out. Do you understand? He paused for exactly 3 seconds. Then he nodded with professional respect. Understood, Ms. Holloway. The rooms are paid for and sealed. No one will enter. He processed the transaction with smooth efficiency. I watched the numbers flash on the screen. $25,000. Charged. Approved. Done. He handed me back my card along with a single key card. Your master suite is on the 5th floor, room 512. The elevator is to your left. Is there anything else I can assist you with? Actually, yes. I tucked the key card into my bag. When they try to use their key cards and realize they don't work, I imagine they'll come back here demanding answers. What will you tell them? His expression didn't change. I will inform them that there was an issue with their reservation and direct them to speak with you, as you are the primary account holder. Perfect. I turned and walked toward the elevator. My family was already there with their luggage, clearly having decided to go up without me, probably still assuming I was just handling some minor billing issue. Sadie was frantically swiping her key card against the elevator reader. The light flashed red. She swiped again. Red. Again. Red. This stupid elevator is broken, she snapped, smacking the reader. My mother tried her card. Red light. My father tried his. Red light. I walked over calmly, my heels clicking on the marble. They all turned to look at me. The elevator's not broken, Sadie said irritably. Our cards aren't working. Must be defective. Go tell them to make new ones. I pulled out my key card, swiped it. Beep. Green light. The elevator doors slid open with a soft chime. I stepped inside alone and turned to face them. They stood there in the lobby, surrounded by their luggage, confusion starting to shift into suspicion on their faces. It's not broken, I said calmly. I just deactivated everyone's keys. The doors began to close. For a moment, they just stared at me through the shrinking gap. Then reality hit. My father's face turned purple. He lunged forward, trying to wedge his hand between the closing doors, but he was too slow. The elevator sealed shut with a definitive click. I pressed the button for the 5th floor and watched the numbers climb. 1, 2, 3. My heart was pounding, but not with fear. With something else. Something that felt dangerously close to pure, unadulterated exhilaration. The elevator dinged. 5th floor. I stepped out into a quiet hallway, plush carpet muffling my footsteps. Room 512 was at the end of the corridor. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. The master suite was spectacular. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the snow-covered mountains. A king bed with crisp white linens. A sitting area with a fireplace already crackling. And yes, a jacuzzi tub in the bathroom, with a view that probably cost more per night than most people's rent. It was everything they wanted for themselves, and now it was all mine. I set my bag down and walked to the window. Outside, snow fell in soft, lazy flakes. My phone started ringing immediately. I pulled it out. 17 missed calls. Texts flooding in. Mom, where are you? Dad, this is unacceptable. Come down here right now. Sadie, are you stupid kidding me, Grace? This isn't funny. Sadie, I have a contract. I need that room. Mom, your father is talking to the manager. You can't do this to us. I muted the notifications and opened my banking app instead. American Express had a feature that let me manage supplementary cards. 2 were listed, Aiden Holloway, Sarah Holloway, Sadie Holloway. I selected all 3. Clicked Deactivate Card. A warning popped up, are you sure? This action will immediately cancel all purchasing power for these cardholders. I clicked Confirm. Transaction processed. Cards deactivated. That felt good. My phone immediately started ringing again. I ignored it and called my lawyer instead. Richard answered on the 2nd ring. Grace? Aren't you supposed to be on vacation? Richard, I need you to file a notice of termination of tenancy for the Chicago apartment. First thing Monday morning. Silence. The apartment your parents are living in? Yes. 30-day notice. Exactly as the lease allows. I want it in writing. Certified mail. The whole thing. May I ask what happened? My sister destroyed my grandmother's watch and laughed about it. My parents took her side. I'm done, Richard. File the paperwork. Consider it done. Anything else? Yes. Can you put the apartment on the market? I want it listed as soon as they're out. I'll have it listed within the hour of their departure. Grace? Are you sure about this? I looked around the master suite. At the fireplace. At the view. At the bottle of Opus One the hotel had left as a welcome gift. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Understood. I'll handle it. I hung up and poured myself a glass of wine. The Opus One was smooth and rich, tasting like it cost exactly what it did. I sat down in the leather chair by the fireplace and finally let myself breathe. My phone buzzed. A call this time. Sadie. I answered and put it on speaker. Grace. Her voice was shrill, panicked. What on earth is going on? Our cards aren't working. I know, I said calmly, taking another sip of wine. I deactivated them about 10 minutes ago. You can't do that. Actually, I can. They're supplementary cards on my account. I can activate or deactivate them whenever I want. But I need. She was sputtering now, her influencer polish completely gone. I have expenses. I have bills. Then I suggest you pay them with your own money. I don't have money. You know that. That sounds like a personal problem, Sadie. My mother's voice cut through, shrill and desperate. Grace Elizabeth Holloway, you stop this right now. Your father and I need those cards. How are we supposed to eat? The same way everyone else does. With money you earned. We're your parents, my father roared. You owe us. I laughed. I actually laughed. I don't owe you anything. I've paid your rent for 10 years. I've cleared your debts twice. I've funded your lifestyle while you criticized me for being dry and heartless. But I'm done now. You can't just kick us out. Sadie screamed. Where are we supposed to go? I don't know, I said pleasantly. And by the way, I just got off the phone with my lawyer. We're filing a notice of termination of tenancy Monday morning. The apartment is being listed for sale. You have exactly 30 days to move out. The silence on the other end was deafening. Then my mother started crying. Grace, please. You can't do this to us. We're family. Family doesn't destroy irreplaceable heirlooms and laugh about it. Family doesn't exploit someone for 10 years and call them selfish when they finally say no. You made your choices. I'm making mine. What about the hotel? My father demanded. We don't have anywhere to sleep. That's not my problem. I paid for the rooms. But I paid to keep them empty. Not for you to use them. Mr. Murphy has been very accommodating. This is insane. Sadie shrieked. You're being psychotic. No, I'm being rational for the first time in a decade. Oh, and Sadie? That lingerie sponsorship you were planning to shoot in the suite? You might want to call your agent and explain that you won't be able to deliver on that contract. I hear breach of contract lawsuits can be expensive. I heard her gasp. She'd forgotten I overheard her. How did you? I advise you all to start saving money for a moving truck, I continued, my voice ice cold and perfectly calm instead of riding the ski lift. I hung up. For a moment, I just sat there in the silence of the master suite, the fire crackling softly, snow falling outside the windows. Then I stood up, walked to the bathroom, and started running a bath in that ridiculously expensive jacuzzi tub. I caught sight of myself in the mirror. My wrist was already bruising. The Cartier watch hung loose, the broken crystal catching the light, the frozen hands permanently marking 4:25 p.m. I unclasped it carefully and set it on the marble counter. Without it, my wrist felt lighter, naked. Free. The cost of my freedom? One shattered heirloom, $39,000, and a family that never really loved me anyway. My regrets? Zero. Time inside the master suite ceased to be measured by hours or schedules, but by the rhythmic accumulation of snow on the balcony and the changing angle of light across the mountains. For 72 hours, the world outside simply ceased to exist. I ordered room service at odd hours, steak frites, champagne and oysters, and watched the snow accumulate on the mountains through those floor-to-ceiling windows. The silence was intoxicating. No manufactured crises, no guilt trips disguised as family dinners. Just me, the crackling fireplace, and a kind of peace I hadn't felt in years. I didn't think much about where my family had gone until checkout, when Mr. Murphy mentioned in passing that they'd caught a Greyhound to a motel 2 towns over. Apparently, none of them had enough cash left for even the cheapest Aspen accommodation after their shopping spree. The image of Sadie, who once spent 20 minutes complaining that her latte foam wasn't Instagram-worthy, riding a bus to a roadside motel, made me smile into my coffee. The real chaos started when I landed back in Chicago. My phone exploded with notifications the moment I turned off airplane mode. Texts from former college friends I hadn't spoken to in years. DMs from professional contacts. Even my hairdresser sent a concerned message. They had all seen Sadie's live stream. I watched it once, my jaw clenching tighter with every word. There she was, tear-stained and trembling in that awful motel room, spinning a tale about her abusive older sister who had abandoned elderly parents in a blizzard and physically assaulted her in a hotel lobby. She'd even managed to work in some nonsense about me being jealous of her successful influencer career. The comments were vicious. Strangers calling me a monster. Demanding I be canceled. Some particularly creative souls had already found my business Instagram and were leaving 1-star reviews. I felt the old instinct rising. The need to defend myself. To explain. To make people understand. That's what the old Grace would have done. Written a long post. Provided context. Begged for understanding. But not this Grace. Instead, I opened my laptop and composed exactly one email to sadie.holloway@gmail.com cc, aiden.holloway@gmail.com, sarah.holloway@gmail.com. Subject: Legal notice attachments. Aspen incident report.pdf. Notice to vacate.pdf. The incident report was beautifully official. Mr. Murphy's signature at the bottom, the hotel's legal letterhead at the top, and one particularly relevant line highlighted. Security footage confirms Ms. S. Holloway initiated physical contact by grabbing Ms. G. Holloway's personal property. Video evidence retained for potential legal proceedings. The eviction notice was even better. 30 days to vacate. Property listed for sale. Residency rights terminated. My message contained one sentence: I don't argue with liars. If that defamatory video is not deleted in 10 minutes, my lawyer will subpoena the security footage from the hotel and file a lawsuit for assault and defamation. The clock is ticking. I pressed send at 6:47 p.m. The video disappeared at 6:55 p.m. I poured myself a very expensive bourbon and toasted to the empty apartment. They moved out 3 weeks later. I had the locks changed the same day and put the place on the market within the week. It sold in 48 hours. Turns out, luxury apartments in that building don't stay available long. The winter snow of Aspen has long since melted, replaced by the humid, vibrant heat of a Chicago summer, yet the clarity I found in that cold mountain air hasn't faded. It has been 5 months since the incident, and looking around my life now, it is unrecognizable in the best possible way. Holloway Design Group landed 2 major contracts, a boutique hotel renovation and a private residence that's going to be featured in Architectural Digest. I bought a south-facing house in West Loop, all exposed brick and original hardwood floors, and renovated it exactly to my specifications. No compromises. No, but what about when family visits? Considerations. Just clean lines, flooded with natural light, and a home office with custom built-ins for my drafting table. I haven't given my family the address. My parents are renting a small apartment somewhere on the north side. I'm not entirely sure where. They've been texting me through various relatives, calling me heartless and ungrateful. Aunt Linda sent a particularly aggressive message about how I'm abandoning my elderly parents and should be ashamed. I blocked her number. The thing is, I don't feel ashamed. I feel free. But lately, I've been standing at a crossroads, and I genuinely don't know which path to take. Option A, maintain absolute no contact. They're adults. They made their choice when Sadie grabbed my bag, when my mother called me in. Ungrateful monster, when my father stood silent in that lobby. They made their choice every single time they prioritized Sadie's feelings over basic decency toward me. Option B, buy them a very small, rundown condo in some distant suburb. Make sure they're not homeless, but never speak to them again. Fulfill some final, almost legalistic obligation to the people who raised me, then walk away with a clear conscience. I keep thinking about that Cartier watch, still broken in my jewelry box. I'll never repair it. But I can't seem to throw it away either. So I'm asking you, my friends, what would you do?